What's going on, people? Yeah, it's been a while since I've actually made a video. It's been a while since I've made a video with my face in it. So here it is. I thought I'd make one today because it's the premiere of Black Panther in the UK. It's going on somewhere in Hammersmith and Apollo. So I thought, hey, let's do something that's going to relate to what's going on in the world right now. I'm excited to have Black Panther coming out. Very, very, very happy about that. I can't wait to see this movie in itself. It's what next Tuesday I'm gonna be seeing it, and I'm incredibly hyped to see something like this. I can't remember the last time that this kind of thing has happened before. It's really got me thinking in the sense of what's it like to have a movie like Black Panther right now in the MCU. It's incredibly important. It's the movie before Avengers. We don't know what's going on with the Soul Stone. We don't know if it's going to be in there, or if it's going to be something that we're going to see in Avengers. And it's just completely amazing in and itself. With Black Panther himself, I've always been interested in his character. He's been something that I've always liked, but he never really had my attention. I respect what he did. He's a king and he's a superhero, which creates interesting dilemmas for him as politically and as a superhero doing the right thing that manner and not being able to be caught with issues in the terms of diplomatic community, which happened in Civil War when they were going to not Civil War, sorry, in Avengers versus X-Men with the issues with the Phoenix Force coming over to Hope and then them going to America. He wasn't able to do that because of issues and so on. And then I saw Civil War, as in Captain America Civil War, and then he really got my attention as a very interesting character, fighting and capabilities and so on. I'd researched it before and I was like, yeah, it's nice. And he's one of the best fighters I think in for me, probably not even labeled this, but for me one of the best fighters in Marvel. And I've liked it. And then Civil War showed it, and I was like, this is an amazing character that I really want to get to know more about. I've researched it, really cool. The Black Panther movie itself, I think, even beyond the MCU, is going to be important to cinema in general, movies in general, and the black community. At least from what I've seen, and me personally, I think it'll be a really important movie. Um, Now we've had black characters in movies before. We've had them in comic book movies before. We've had Blade, Spawn. We've had even in the MCU itself, Falcon, Anthony Mackie, and War Machine Don Cheadle, and even well in the Iron Man it was Terrence Howard, who I like as an actor anyway. But still, even in the Netflix Marvel universe, you've got Mike Coulter as Luke Cage, and I think that did a slightly similar thing, but on a smaller scale. And I don't think it had the impact it really wanted. But even with that, I don't think a movie that is predominantly a black cast has done something like this. I don't think it's ever been done before on such a huge scale where it's not a comedy movie or it's not a gangster movie. Everyone of every nationality, ethnicity, race, whatever background will probably see this movie in some way or another. And that to me is amazing. The hype that this movie has is incredible. The movies that you tend to get with predominantly black casts that everyone is amazed about are slave movies. Majority of the time. You've got other movies like way back when Friday came out, but that was nowhere near on this level. It was a movie that was a low budget movie that became a cult classic. So for a comic book superhero to have his own solo movie with a predominantly black cast that has actually two main characters, Martin Freeman's character, whose name I can't remember, he was in Civil War as well, and Andy Serkis's character, Ulysses Claw, who you saw in the Avengers Age of Ultron, is in this movie. They're really good actors. I'm cool with that. As a main cast full of black people, that is blowing my mind. It leads so many doors open. I mean, I think this can really trigger a change for cinema in the sense of black people can, not even so much eventually because it's happened, but not the grand scale, to get away from being the comedic relief or a thug or just the muscle or just a secondary character in really, really, really big movies. I mean, I can't remember the last movie that was so popular that had just a bunch of black people. Um, I think cinema can really change this in the sense of the perception of Africa in itself. I mean, when you really think about it, for me, this can turn into, if not already, an allegory for Africa in itself and where it is in the landscape of the world, let alone just this MCU world that we've created. In a similar fashion to how the X-Men is an allegory for humans today and what it was in the 60s as an allegory for the civil rights movement with Charles Xavier being the Martin Luther King of the universe, the Marvel universe at that time, and Magneto being the Malcolm X. And it then became a further thing other than just civil rights with being gay, trans, bi, whatever the situation is. If you even if you just feel isolated, you can identify yourself as an X-Man in some way or another. And I think that's really cool what that had become. And I think this movie can do that because Wakanda is it's a fictional nation in Africa. Its most valuable resource is vibranium, which is the same material that Captain America's shield is made out of. It's managed to keep its borders shut and safe for the most part and kept its wealth, the vibranium, and has become the most technologically advanced country in the Marvel Universe on Earth. And when you really boil it down to what that could represent in the real world is what would have happened those many years ago in Africa with all the gold, diamonds, jewelry, whatever, silver, everything in the world that it had. What would have happened had the African continent itself, as it was then, was able to keep its borders safe away from the things that happened subsequently? So I think that allegory is something that can be incredibly strong into what this movie can be. Even with that, forgetting the allegory, it can be a celebration of African culture, even if it doesn't allegorize, if that's a word, itself in that manner. The clothing that I've seen in the trailers and the TV spots are based on African culture. The coloring, the bright colors are of African culture. The accents that will be used in the movie, African culture, even African actors are in this movie. It's not just American African. You've got Daniel Kaluuya, who is well known for being in Get Out doing an American accent. I don't know what accent he has in this movie, but he's of African descent as far as I know. Um, a lot of the actors in this, you've got one of the head of the Dora Milaje, the female guard that protects the king, are in the movie. It's Michonne, who was in The Walking Dead. She's a lead, and I think she's going to have an African accent. I can't remember, but I think she did in Civil War as well. Either way, it's just going to be a celebration of African culture, and then that can lead into black culture, I guess you could say, where it has the male lead that wants to look after something, as the gender stereotype is that the black one doesn't. You've got a strong black female that isn't just this aggressive female that's a caricature of aggressive black females. I mean, we have a lot of that. The snappy, the sassy, the twerking neck movements and so on. In this movie, they won't all be doing that. I presume somewhere along the line, probably will happen. Part of it happens in life. But I think it's going to develop a change into becoming more prominent in actual serious roles, not just this parody of what black people do, or at least some black people. I think further into that, what it could be is that it can help Hollywood start creating, not even Hollywood, sorry, Marvel or even comics in general, creating better ethnic or just different race, religion, whatever characters. Marvel has done some really good jobs at that. I think Kamala Khan is a really good character for that, who is now Miss Marvel taking over from Carol Danvers. Carol Danvers, sorry, who will be actually getting her movie Captain America in 2019. Hopefully, there's an Easter egg there. Um, Riri Williams, who is Valiant Ironheart, who took Iron Man's place for a moment in time. I'm not sure of exactly what's going on with her, but she was a black girl, one of like the seventh smartest in the Marvel universe, which is incredible. But I don't know if they were all well written. If you make well written movies, you will then have, or even well written comics, sorry, you will then have better characters, and then you will have fully fledged backgrounds. And that's what people really want. I think a lot of people will state, yes, we want this type of character, that type of character, but what you really need to do is have a well written character that happens to be black. And I think a character like Miles Morales Spider Man is actually a character that's well written and he just happens to be Hispanic and black. That's what you want, not just a color palette swap. And I think once we start having these characters that are there, because there are stacks of black characters in comic books in itself, let alone just Marvel and DC. There's other mediums of other publishers. You've got Dark Horse, who actually may be an imprint of DC now, but a lot of them are are there. You can use these characters. I mean, another prominent role for a black character is a John Stewart Green Lantern, who I think should be in the Justice League movie over Hal Jordan, but that could lead into when they do the Green Lantern more core movie. I think that's what they're doing. He can be in there, and then he can incorporate into a spin-off and so on. You can have this kind of movie, which I think would be amazing. But anyway, that's besides the point. I think what this movie can do is help Hollywood stop destroying other characters that are from other mediums. Like, they've gotten really good at comic book movies. They know how to deliver on that. What we need now is characters who are ethnic to be played by actors that are ethnic. You've got Doctor Strange's The Ancient One, which I love Tilda Swinton. She's amazing. The movie was really good, but that's an old Asian dude. Get an old Asian dude. There are plenty of them that are good actors that could have done it. I would have been happy, the most obvious one, if Jackie Chan did it. That would have been fine. Probably too expensive, but I'm pretty sure Tilda Swinton would have been a lot more money than that. But still, there are plenty of actors that are suitable for roles that are great actors and actresses that can do it. You've got Ghost in the Shell, which as a movie is just terrible. Absolutely terrible. Some nice Easter eggs, but terrible movie. And I love Scarlett Johansson, but she's not the major, which is a point in the movie. It makes sense, but people wanted to watch Ghost in the Shell, not a shell of the ghost. And it was just painful. But what I will leave you on a note with is that finally, Hollywood seems to have started to realize where they've started to really mess things up. And they've gotten Mulan as an Oriental actress. Can you believe that? On that note, I'm going to bring this video to an end. Peace.